Yeah, I
Okay.
think we had about 20 people. Now we have 18. So
Oh, 19. I think the number will keep coming and it's recording, so they'll definitely get to watch the replay.
okay. So yeah, I
Long
will
term
take those
and
two
short term and long term
questions
plan.
together. Yes, and I will take them together. And so the point I was making is this should be the easiest section to write because it's about your future. So you should have a clear picture of, okay, in 5 years' time, what am I going to be doing? And don't forget, the risk you will have here is when you start solving a problem that is different from the problem that you have mentioned in your very first paragraph, you will look like a scam. You will look like a scam. So you must make sure that as we are seeing your 5-year plan, we are seeing you become someone that will become an influence in this space that is capable of then contributing to resolving those problems that you mentioned. Because that's the essence of the entire thing. You are trying to solve a problem. These days, you are furthering your studies because you want to solve a problem, period. It has to have translational effects. It needs to have a real developmental change outcome. Now, people just don't do courses for the sake of it. You just want to read book. You just want to read book. No, you must read book because it will translate to resolving a problem. So that's it. So always think along that line. So for 5 years, don't forget, it has to be something smart that you can achieve in 5 years. Be as detailed as possible. Do not over summarize. And for your long-term goal, we are talking about 10 years, in 10 years time. So make sure that it's something that is big enough. Be ambitious, but be realistic. Be ambitious, but be realistic. So it has to be something really big that they can see you become. Okay, this is the end goal. And so explain why and explain how you intend to get there. So should the 5-year plan be an expansion of the 2 and 3 development? Oh yes. So that's a very good question. So your 2 and 3 development, yes, for the 5-year, it will reflect and they will see that indeed you are telling the truth. So thank you so much for pointing that out. There is a lot of connection that must show up in your essay. And so, yes, we must continue to see you talk about your mobile refrigerator. You want to make more of them. You want more farmers to have access to them. You can see it's tying up with things you've said already in 2 to 3. You are expanding. So they know you are not a scammer, you mean business. You are consistent with your ideas. Your solution is consistent. So that's it for the 5-year. And for the 10 years, as I said, long-term, 10 years, ambitious, but realistic. So that's my own path from here. I would leave it to Precious.
So for 5-year plan, I think this is when you need to really start breaking it down now. So this is post you coming back from the UK. So within your 1 year to 5 years, what exactly will you be doing? So maybe, for example, if you run an organization or just like the agricultural project, they want to see that you're someone who can collaborate, who have like this teamwork. You can't do this refrigerator alone. So you can say, think about organization you can partner with. It's okay, I'll use partnership with XYZ organization for us to implement this agricultural refrigerator we're trying to build so that we can reach more farmers. Also, again, maybe to develop your skills, you can say you also take maybe courses or participate in fellowship, things like that. And in this 5 year, I think you should also be strategic so that the UK government, they have priority areas in Nigeria. Go and check the UK government website. Check Nigeria, you see that they have different areas they're working on. So that your work that you're doing, go and try to say, maybe the UK government, they're implementing one project on food, it's called maybe food sustainability something. And then you are trying to do this, your refrigerator for farmers. Go and say, in you doing this project for these farmers, you are trying to complement and support the UK government priority area. So they say, yes, so this person is thinking like us. This person, is someone that we can work with, stuff like that. So think about that kind of area. So that for your 5-year plan, it's nothing. You don't go and be over ambitious to say you be a minister. There's no way, even though we know you can be a minister in 5 years' time, don't go there and say it. That should be something like your long-term plan. You can just say, okay, maybe for long term, do you intend, be ambitious, let them know that this person is not just, let them know that at least you mean business, to say, maybe you want to be a minister, you can say, oh, if in 10 years plan now, maybe I'll be a minister of agriculture, even though you might not become that, but let us say that, so this person is thinking big, or maybe you work in the UN, you work in World Food Program, things like that. So think big in 10 years plan, think big. You can write anything in 10 years plan, because that's like a fast step, even though it's a fast step, but let it be that you're relating it, you're still in that same field, not in this 5 years and 10 years. You're not talking about you want to be a musician or a fashion designer. How? When you have been telling us from the beginning, you want to work in food security. Now, in 5 years and 10 years, you're not going to do something else. So if it doesn't add up, they'll just keep your essay aside and say, this person is not yet clear on what they want to be. So make everything clear and strategic. So that's what I would say. So even with the work that you have done, they're able to say, okay, yes, this person is what, even though this person is claiming they want to do this in the space of 5 to 10 years, yes, let's support this person. We are sure. Because they're also wise. You think they're just spending this money on you? The UK government, they have partnership with Nigeria to say, okay, tomorrow, if probably become the minister and you're a CSE scholar, they can instantly reach out to you to say, we have this idea. So they need people they can easily work with, because you know what it means to have partnership with another country. So take it that you're a solution provider and be serious with that. So I'll go back to the next question, which is the one on, okay, so the next question is on personal statement. And it says, summarize the ways in which your personal background has encouraged you to want to make an impact in your home country. You should indicate areas in which you have already contributed, such as having overcome any personal community barriers to higher education. And this is your personal statement. You have 500 words. Mr. Macaulay, how do you think they should go about answering this question?
Yeah, okay, so it's already written clearly, as I said, instructions, stick to instructions. If you are very good at sticking to instructions, trust me, you might not even necessarily need some of the things we are saying on this call. Just sticking to instructions is enough. That's it, right? So you can see they've told you things that they want to see there. So this is not your typical personal statement that you write for Erasmus or for US schools. This is very different because they've told you clearly what they want to see. So in this situation, they've told you they want to see what inspired you to start. Was there a story? Was there an issue? What is it? They just want to know what the story is. Now, two things can happen there. On the issue of food security, food sustainability, if you don't have a personal, powerful story, it's not a problem. You can come from the place of statistical evidence, right? You can come from a place of statistical. Okay, so you can come from a place of statistical evidence as well. But then if you have a personal story, please, it's all well and good. Because I remember one of the winners of Commonwealth this year, and this person is actually, differently enabled. Let me put it that way. He's differently enabled. And I remember that the course he was going for was on policy, right? And it was because he wanted to ensure that there is inclusion in most of the national decisions taken, so that there are some demographics that are often neglected. And these are the people that are differently enabled. And he wanted that to change, right? And you can see from that portion, he actually won and is in the UK now. He got to the UK in September. Now, you will realize that from that personal story, he was able to say how he himself has been a victim of a system that is not inclusive. it was very, very clear, the story that he wrote there. And then he didn't stop there. He also mentioned what he has been doing, because that's the other part of the question. What are you then doing about it? No matter how small, you must be able to say what you've been doing. And he told them what he has been doing. Now, this guy is a northerner. He's based in the north. He's based in Bauchi. And because he's very smart, the governor was able to identify him and make him the leader of the differently enabled people in the state. So most of the funds that come to help them, they get disbursed through him. And then he ends up identifying those people that should get what sum, and then he redistributes. Fantastic. And he wrote all of that there. But he said, this is working well because he has a good rapport with the governor. Now, away from Bauchi and looking at the rest of the nation, you need a policy change, something that will have a real national scale impact. And that's why he wants to go back to school to study public policy and how it can be developed, implemented, sustained, and all that. So this story, and that was how the personal statement was. I said I should bring about someone that is from non-STEM, so that people will not say, oh, the example is always STEM, STEM, STEM. Now, this is non-STEM. And he got in. But he talked about a personal story. He talked about what he's currently doing about it, and the fact that, look, there is still a gap, even though he's doing some stuff, but there is still a gap. And this is why he needs to go back to school to study ABC in order to be able to acquire, additional skill sets in order to do more. Right? So that is how I think the personal statement should be drafted. Don't be bothered if you don't have a powerful personal story. You can come from the place of statistical evidence. That has worked several times with our clients as well. It's not a problem. So yeah, that's it from me.
Yes, and just to add to that, you can even talk about challenges you experience, like maybe during your primary school, access to education. Do you have to drop out of school because of an issue? Maybe you did not complete a term, or your parents could not afford, or you were attending, like a government school, and then there's the issue of strike. Those are challenges. Those are the ones we see that, irrespective of how hard your life has been, still yet you were able to make a change. Do you understand? So talk about the challenges that you have encountered. And then the pastor said again, what have you been doing? Don't tell us what you want to do. Yes, we know that this problem is there. So in your own little way, how have you been helping in that area? So maybe if you drop out of school, you have not been able to, maybe children out of school used to do home lesson for them, put it there. So those little things, they're not waiting for someone like an Obama that already have everything together. So that's the mistake most people think, is that, oh, you must already have everything together. They want that little person doing that little thing in that small place to say that, okay, even with all these challenges, you're able to make a change in, don't lie, even though it's one person, state it in one person's life. They want to empower you to reach scale in thousands and multiple ways. So generally, that's what that question is saying. So even though it's your university, maybe they're the one paying your school fees for your undergraduate study. So maybe you have to sell or do other business, right? That's a challenge, because ideally you're not supposed to be the one funding your study yourself. So put those challenges and how you're able to overcome them, and then add to your essay your future plan. Don't say, I'm thinking that in the future I will do this. Tell us the way you are doing now. That's what they want to know in that question. So the next question is asking about your voluntary and leadership experience. So it says, summarize the ways in which you have engaged in voluntary activities and the opportunities you have had to demonstrate leadership, which is 500 words. So Mr. Macaulay, how do you think they should go about answering this question?
So sadly, I'll have to leave at 6:30. I told you that I hope this is going to be for an hour. And you said yes. I have something I need to do at 6:30. So we will have to be as quick as we can. so that I can leave, unfortunately, because of the time, and because of the engagements that I have, because I have a series of things I need to do tonight, interestingly. So for your leadership essay, I would want people to use this framework, and that is the STAR approach in writing this. Use the STAR approach. This is something we always talk about when, what's it called? When people are applying for Chevening, we always talk about the STAR a lot, especially the leadership part of Chevening. And this is the same thing here. So the leadership part of Commonwealth here too, you need to use the STAR approach. What is the STAR approach? S is situation, T is task, A is action, and R is result. Now, what do I mean? Let's say, so when you are talking about your leadership or volunteering role or voluntary role or what you've done, what I don't want you to do is to come and dump them there. Oh, I've done A, B, C, D, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Just dump everything and then you leave. That is not going to do you any good. What you want is, you want to take one, split it into the STAR format, then go to the next one. By the time you follow this process, you will see that you might not be able to discuss more than 2 or maximum 3 positions. It will be impossible to slot in up to or more than 3 positions. So in a situation where you slotted in maybe 4, 5, that's too much. And that means you've not really done justice. Because to use the STAR approach means, first, you talk about a situation. So while you were, let's say, vice president of a club, what happened? There must have been a situation, something happened. So this is not just you describing or telling us that, look, I was VP, then you go away. That's not going to help us much because we want to know what you did while in that position. So what you want to say is, while as VP, there was a situation, something happened. So A, B, C, D, E happened. Okay, then when these things happened, something needed to be done. That's the task. What needed to be done? C, D, E, F needed to be done. That's the task. Okay, now we know that there is a situation and we know what the task is. Now there is now action. The action is now, what did you do? Now, what did you then do? Then you go into what you did. E, F, G, H, I, J, K. When you now explain what you did, the last one is now R, results. What was the outcome of your action? What then happened? Were you able to resolve the problem? Or the problem persisted? And if the problem persisted, why did it happen like that? What lessons did you learn? What went wrong? So it's not every time that the story needs to be perfect. If you did everything and the results did not, and your action did not really lead to the expected result, please, by all means, you can tell us clearly what went wrong and the lessons that you learned from it. So it's not just about it has to be perfect with wonderful outcomes. No. So that is how you should write this. Then you go into the next example. And by the time you exhaust your 500 words, if it is only 3 highly impactful positions that you can talk about, please stick to only 3. This is not the place for you to just list up to 10 things that you've done. That's not how to do it. It is for you to pick the most impactful and the most relevant positions and then follow the STAR approach to explain in details the impact of your activity while you held those roles. So that's my take on that for the last question. Precious.
Yes, I'm there. And just to add
It's
to
over
that,
to you now. Okay.
okay, just to add to that, in order to make it strong, so that they know that this thing that you're saying is not fake, that is you, add place to it, add name to it. Where is this thing happening? Who is this thing happening to? And you can have up to 4 examples. Like for me, I submitted 4 examples in this section. Strong, for example, following the STAR approach. For example, situation in a community, you notice that there's no water in that community. You don't have to have a position for you to make a change or be recognized. That's what people don't know. So the task or the approach, you can merge T and A together sometimes. What did you do? So you want to mobilize resources maybe from water aid, and then you brought them to the community. You mention the name of the community so that they know exactly where, not that you are saying things abstractly. Call the community, maybe if a community. Mention the people, the organization, these people. How many people in that community were suffering from the problem? If you have statistics to back that, also show how strong to say in this community of 1,000 people, there's no water and things like that. Then the result. So when water aid came, they sunk a borehole. Now about maybe before there's airborne disease because of this water pollution or something, it has caused a reduction. You see, as simple as this thing is, just state everything clearly. Don't lie, don't exaggerate. Even though it's one person, I keep saying state it there. They just want to see how you think, how you solve problem. So we'll just take questions now. So if you have questions, you can raise up your hand or drop them in the chat box. There's a question here. Maybe Mr. Macaulay can answer to that. Though I've given insight. Someone is saying that must they include publication like a journal before they'll be selected? What do you think about publication or not?
Hello?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you give me a minute, please? Just give me a minute, please.
Okay, no problem. I've answered that question already. It's not compulsory to have any journal. Like I've never been published in a journal before and I got the scholarship. But if you have a journal, fine, add it there. Don't just because publishing, you now when you can't post maybe something that is not relevant or useful, rather than you posting things that will make them think what kind of person is this, better you leave it blank. But maybe if you have been, maybe you've written an article in a newspaper before, you can add link to that. Maybe you've written a book, like what I did for that section. I have a book and I wrote the title of my book, things like that, and some website that I've written something on before. And this is a good time before the scholarship deadline. If you feel you want to add publication, go and find maybe like a website on that organization or something and publish there. That link, just post the URL link and add it to your application, but don't be bothered about whether you have a journal publication or not. Okay, Victoria is asking, aside the STAR approach, is there any other recommended approach to use during the essay writing? Just use the STAR approach. That's what a lot of people have been using for many years. That is what I use, and that is what works. Like I say, some people also use, I think they say, is it car or sometimes you can merge T and A together. So it can be SAR, situation, approach, and the results, because I feel T and A is kind of similar. And then for the application to different schools, is it compulsory to see a faculty member with a corresponding research interest and dissertation topic? No. Don't bother. It's only in PhD that you have to do that, but this is for a master's. There's no need like reaching out to any member of the faculty to discuss anything with them. The question I've asked you where you should write about your research. For master, this thing is like what I was going to research on where apply. It's not the same thing that I'm trying to work on now. Just like Mr. Macaulay said, when you get to the UK, when you start learning, you start seeing other things. You might pick up other interests. And the same way now, like they're also telling me, because my department asked me to like submit my dissertation IGN now against next year. But they're also saying maybe when next year comes and then I decide to change my topic again, I can do the same. So it's not a cast of stone. So you don't need to see anybody. Just identify if that course you have chosen, if the school is aligned with that, and be very careful here. Maybe there's a course called International Development, for instance, and you think normal international development is supposed to be about poverty, working in NGO. please go and read through the website. You'll be surprised that for some university, that course might be called international development, but to be doing something around geography. So you see now that there's no alignment. So don't bother. If you go and submit something about NGO to them, they'll be like, but this is not what. So the course might have the same name with other courses in different schools, but the models and what they're focused on is different totally from what another school is doing. So that's why it's not good to copy and paste. You just copy this essay here, you use it in the same university. They will just even fling it. So someone had made the mistake of, he was submitting to Liverpool and he had submitted the same essay to Newcastle. He just copy and paste, writing Newcastle. Imagine Liverpool seeing that. They would just say, oh, so this person did not even take time to check what our university is doing. So be careful, check what exactly your university is focused on. They might have the same course, but each school, they differ in what exactly they're really focusing on. So don't just say, okay, I've seen the courses, this, so all of them, different areas. So that was the thing I checked to see the ones that, okay, this course, did they mean the same thing to what I want? And then I went to that area. So submit to more than one schools to help you. So someone is asking again, must the volunteer and experience related to your course you're applying? I don't know. I can't really say, but mine kind of align. Okay, although I have a science background, but then I'm studying something in social science and law now. So you see that it's different. But during my essay, I had to tell them why I decided to switch from science to now I want to start doing social science. And if they've been reading my essay, all my example had to do with social science. But immediately I left school, I didn't even pursue science again. I saw another area and I've been there. So I have like that expertise. Because the essay will be judged by a professor. They want to be sure that you can meet up with the academic workload. Do you understand? And if you've taken other courses, like me that don't have like a social science background, but I've taken like little courses, you can get free course on Coursera with them, those kind of places. Like I've done fellowship and those things. So they know that, so aside, even though she does not have like the BSc in this course, but she has the experience because that's where I've been working and I've been going for fellowship and taking other courses. So those kind of things can boost your application. So you don't have to, maybe it might not be an NGO experience, but if you have like a leadership experience, even though it's in the private sector, put it there. Those things will boost your application. And then someone is asking.
Yeah, I'm back. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Okay, so let me just stop my video. Okay, so someone is asking here that, assuming you have had a master's already in Africa, can you state anything in relation to your master's in any of your essays?
Now, if you've had a master's before, you just have to justify why you need another master's. Because if you can't justify why you need another master's, then you have a problem. And it should just be like you are just accumulating certificates. And why is that? Why do you need to be accumulating certificates? But if you have a clear reason why another master's is necessary, because maybe there is still a knowledge gap, then that makes sense. And there will be nothing wrong in mentioning that you already have one master's. I know a guy from last year that we also assisted. He had a master's and he completed his degree in the UK this year through the Commonwealth, right? The master's was from the University of Benin, and he ended up in London for his MSc. But he was able to clearly explain why he needed that second master's. So that's it. It's not a problem.
Okay, so someone is asking again that you stated earlier that we have the leverage to apply to more than one school. How does that work? So how does that work?
Well, the way Commonwealth shared works is that you can apply to multiple schools, but you will have to start a new application. So when you get to this, application, they call it, what's the name again? The name of the application page, that Commonwealth application page. It's called a name. I've forgotten what it's called. Anyway, so when you get to the Commonwealth application page, you would see that when you start your first application, it will create the application with a code you would see. And it will ask you, do you want to create a new application? You say yes, click on it, and then it starts a new one. So when you get to that dashboard, you would see that all your applications will stand. So you can't have one application for multiple courses. No, you will keep filling one application anew for the next one. So you can see it's stressful because you have to go through the entire process again for the next one, the entire process again for the third one, the entire process again for the fourth one. During my time in 2011, when I applied, I did it 9. I did 9. But I'm not asking you to go and do 9. When I did mine, I didn't have a mentor, I didn't have a guide, I had nobody. And I was just on my own, I was blind. So I was someone who had a gun and I was just shooting sporadically, no strategy, nothing. I just they shoot everything. And God helped me. Out of 9, I won 1 and I lost 8. And the miracle is that it was the very last one that I won. So I am a product of failure. I came from a whole bunch of failure, working on my own, learning on my own. And today, the reason why I can do this for long, helping a lot of people, is because I've learned so much. Now, there are things that I did that did not work. And if I see you do, I will tell you, don't do it, because I tried all of them and I failed. So why do you want to learn from your own experience? Eh? And that's why today, most of the clients that come through us, they don't apply for more than 4 or 3 and they'll win. But I did 9. So I became the mentor that I never had, right? And that's why I do this. I guide a lot of people so that you don't make those mistakes. Because I didn't have to do 9. It was just too much. But that's how to do multiple. You start afresh and go to the next one and go to the next one. So that's it.
Okay, so the meeting will soon end, and then I'll just let you
Yeah.
know since it's to 6. But someone is saying that during the scholarship that the essay has to change. Yes, the essay has to change because you cannot write what you're writing for Newcastle to sitting you're writing for Manchester. Because
Exactly.
now, but you can maintain the same leadership experience and your personal story because I use the same thing. You don't have to go and create different. Those ones are static. Those are my experience.
Yeah.
You don't change them from me. But for the other parts, you have to align them to your university. So it takes a lot of time. So that's what Mr. Macaulay is saying. Rather than doing 10, you're writing rubbish. We focus on 1, write very well. For me, my belief is
please,
the more you
don't do one,
for you, the more
don't do one, no.
for you.
Don't do one, no. Precious, did you do 1?
No. No, I'm not saying that.
Did you do 1?
I did not do 1. I did more than 1. But rather than people doing 100 and they're right.
How many did you do?
I did.
How many did you do?
Yes, I did.
Precious.
7.
See now, I did 9.
Okay.
That guy I told you that had a master's, he did 1. And I remember that when I was helping him through that 1, I was still criticizing him that, why did you do 1? What if they don't pick you? This is too much risk. But at the end of the day, he's a miraculous boy because they picked him. But I will still advise, don't ever do 1. Never, don't ever do 1. But you don't have to do 9. No, you don't have to do 9. These days, I just tell people, at least do 4. Do 4. That's it. So that if 1 doesn't pick you, you can have another. You can have another. And I've had people that they didn't pick them for 1, they picked them for the next one. They didn't pick them for 1, they picked them for another. At least I know one person right now that just completed a Commonwealth. Right now, Lillian did 4 and 3 rejected her, 1 picked her. So I'm wondering if Lillian had only done 1, what are the odds that she will be picked? So please don't do 1. Try to do about 4. That's my advice. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, exactly. So do more than 1. Apply to different ones. Highest, you get nominated. If you get nominated by 7, that's a good news. At the end, you just have to go with 1. So it's better to have extra nomination than you just doing 1. So have different varieties and go for the one that finally suits you if you have more than one nomination at the end. And so I think this will be the last question we answer. So I've dropped the YouTube link there. The recording of the video will be there, so you can watch it there. If you have more questions, just post it there. I'll respond to them. So one is asking the issue of transcripts. Okay, you can get your transcript from your school. Of course, you're not supposed to have like the main one, but I think school normally assess, because since each application is different transcript that you have to use, as in, I mean, the same transcript. So you cannot just set school to send to one, or you have to spend more money for school to send to different places. So you have one that's with you, you keep uploading them during the different application. And so please, can we get our essays review? I can't promise to review everybody's essay, but there are a lot of, just go on LinkedIn, check for CSE scholars, reach out to multiple people. That's what I did during my time. Like, some people will say yes, some will say no. So give it to a variety of people, check. There'll be scholars that have time. Like, I'm so choked up, I can't guarantee, but maybe if you reach out to me privately, we'll talk about that. Mr. Samuel, you have your hands up. Can you please speak out?
Okay, so it's respect to your response to this transcript by keeping one. Actually, it doesn't work like that, except it's a student copy. The one that normally sent to institution, if the institution asks, they send it directly to them. You don't have access to it. So the only one you have access to is your student copy. So I was asking if you could use the student copy for the application, so it has to be the one the institution sends.
I don't know, like, I have my own copy from my school, and that's what I upload. Let your
I know what he's asking.
Okay.
I know the question he's asking. Can you allow me answer that? I know what he's asking.
Him, please.
Hello?
Can you answer him?
Hello?
Answer him.
Can you hear me, sir?
Okay, so I'm aware that for some universities, you will not be giving your main transcript. You'll be giving a student copy. And if you need the main one, you have to pay them to send that transcript directly to the school. And that's expensive. And you can't do that for multi